Nia leaned against the mirror in her cramped yet cozy room, brushing her silky hair as she examined her reflection. She looked perfect, confident, composed, and alluring. The type of woman men couldn't resist. She smiled, adjusting her designer earrings, and sent the text that would seal the deal. "Hey, Darren. Why don't you come over this weekend? I miss you." Darren was perfect for the moment. A tech entrepreneur she'd met at a networking event, he was charming and generous. She knew his weakness, he loved spoiling the women in his life. And Nia had already noticed his Rolex, his sleek MacBook, and the way he casually talked about investments. When Darren arrived on Friday evening, Nia welcomed him warmly, leading him into her shared house. The living room was bustling with tenants, some watching TV, others laughing over takeout. Darren took a moment to absorb the scene. "This place feels lively," he said with a polite smile. "It's not much," Nia replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "But it's home, for now." She shrugged in that endearing way that made her seem so grounded. "Don't worry. Everyone here looks out for each other." That night, Nia cooked dinner for him and they laughed over wine in her tiny room. Darren was smitten. But Nia's mind was elsewhere. She had already sent the signal, a brief message to a number saved under an unassuming name. Tomorrow. Midnight. At exactly midnight, chaos erupted. The front door slammed open and masked men stormed in, armed with crowbars and guns. Darren, startled awake, jumped to his feet. "Get down!" One of the robbers barked. Darren froze, his hands in the air. Nia cowered in the corner, her face pale, her body trembling. The robbers were thorough. They tore through the house, taking wallets, phones, laptops, and jewelry. Darren tried to speak, but one of the men shoved him to the floor. "Stay down, rich boy," the man sneered, snatching Darren's Rolex from his wrist. When Darren resisted, the punishment was swift, a series of brutal kicks that left him coughing on the ground. Nia screamed, begging them to stop, tears streaming down her face. The robbers left as quickly as they came, leaving destruction and terror in their wake. Darren was shaken, clutching his side, his face bruised. "I can't believe this," he whispered. Nia wrapped her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. "I'm so sorry. I can't live here anymore. This place isn't safe. I should have left sooner." By morning, Nia's suitcase was packed. She kissed Darren's swollen cheek and promised to call him once she found a safer place. He watched her leave, too disoriented and ashamed to question why she seemed to recover so quickly. A week later, Nia had moved into a new shared house in another part of the city. The tenants were friendly, the rent was cheap, and her closet was fuller than ever. Darren had stopped calling, and she didn't mind. He had served his purpose. At her next rental, Nia charmed Michael, a doctor she'd met at a cafe. He was smitten, and his expensive tastes, Mount Blanc pens, designer briefcases, and a brand new tablet made him the perfect target. The robbers struck during a late-night dinner with her housemates. Michael, caught off guard, handed over everything as the gang ransacked the home. Nia clung to him, crying hysterically, her performance flawless. "I can't live like this," she sobbed the next morning, her bags already packed. "I have to go." Michael, too rattled to think clearly, gave her money to help her move to a safer place. Nia's next move brought her to a trendy loft downtown. The tenants were artists and freelancers, people who kept odd hours and owned expensive tech. Her target this time was Lucas, a young startup founder who visited with his top-of-the-line gadgets and a custom-made leather jacket. Once again, the robbers came in the dead of night, their brutality swift and calculated. Lucas was furious, but Nia played the victim so convincingly that even he couldn't blame her. By the end of the week, she was gone, taking with her the sympathy of her former housemates and Lucas's unanswered texts. This time, Nia moved into a shared house in a quiet suburb. Her target, Samuel, was an architect with a penchant for luxury watches and bespoke suits. He visited her one weekend, enamored by her beauty and the vulnerability she portrayed. The robbers came as planned, and Samuel's valuables were gone in moments. He fought back but was overpowered, left blooded and broken. Nia, her face a mask of horror, packed her things and left before the week ended, citing her fear for her life. Months later, Nia found herself at another shared home. Her methods as sharp as ever. She had everything planned: another wealthy man to woo, another house to leave in chaos. But fate had other plans. While moving into her new place, she heard someone call her name. She froze, her heart skipping a beat. Across the street stood Darren, her first mark. He stared at her, his expression shifting from shock to fury. "Nia," he said, crossing the street. "I knew it was you." Nia smiled nervously, masking her panic. "Darren. It's been so long. How are you?" "You're behind all of this," Darren said, his voice cold. "I've seen the news. Every robbery at every house you move into. This isn't bad luck. It's you." The tenants began to gather, their curiosity turning to suspicion as Darren laid out the pattern. But Nia had perfected her escape. She clutched her bag, her expression shifting to one of wounded innocence. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice trembling. "I've been through so much. How do you accuse me?" Before Darren could respond, Nia turned and walked briskly away, leaving her suitcase behind. Nia disappeared again, slipping into another neighborhood, another shared house. Darren's accusations didn't stop her, and neither did the whispers of suspicion that followed. The robberies continued, each one as seamless as the last. Nia remained untouchable, a ghost moving through the city. For her, the game was survival, and she had no intention of stopping. Her wardrobe grew, her lifestyle flourished, and her victims were left in the shadows, wondering how they'd been fooled by the girl who always seemed too good to be true.